Hello, everybody, and welcome back to ZakIsCinema. Yes, welcome back to the best place to talk about movies. You know, if you find yourself just kind of wandering around, just constantly looking for people to talk movies with, and then you sit down maybe at your lunchtime at work and just start rambling about movies again, rambling about these Karate Kid movies, and then you got all your coworkers just like rolling their eyes. They're like, "Oh my God, ZakIsCinema, Stop talking about these Karate Kid movies. The first one's the only good one." And you're like, well, there's part 3's not too bad, okay? And, you got the new one coming out and just they just stop listening before you can even get that out of your system. Well, hey, no worries, guys. No worries. You can talk to me about the Karate Kid movies because that's what we're doing here today. So, yeah, today we're going to be doing another movie review here. So, let's just jump right into it here. Today we're going to be reviewing and discussing the movie The Karate Kid Part 2, which came out in 1986. So for The Karate Kid Part 2, for director, we got John Avildsen. Can't even say his name correctly here. For writer, we got Robert Kamen. And starring in this movie, we got Ralph Macchio and Noriki Morita. I am so sorry, Mr. Miyagi here. I should just start calling him Mr. Miyagi, honestly. I butcher his name every time. I'm going to try harder next time here. But for the Karate Kid Part 2, it follows the story of Daniel LaRusso follows his mentor, Mr. Miyagi, to Okinawa, where Mr. Miyagi confronts an old rival and Daniel finds himself entangled in a dangerous feud while learning new lessons in honor and martial arts. So as we hop into the review for The Karate Kid Part 2, we're obviously sticking with the Karate Kid franchise, leading up to Karate Kid Legends, which comes out later in May here. And we just finished reviewing the first Karate Kid movie, which is honestly one of my favorite childhood movies of all time. Just revisiting that movie was such a fun experience. I love that movie so much. So I was really interested in checking out the rest of the franchise because ZakIsCinema here, growing up, I really only saw the first one and then the remake. I watched those back and forth all the time. And while I was watching this one, I'm like, I don't think I've ever seen this. But then like halfway through, I realized, yeah, you know what? I did actually watch this one as a kid, but I think I only watched like parts of it or maybe only even one time. So this isn't really a nostalgic review or a first time watch review. This is somewhere like in the middle, but it was basically like a first time watch for me here. But I did realize like halfway through I've seen this one before. And then as I was watching it, I totally remembered why I had completely forgotten about it. But like I said, I really only remember watching the original here. So it's been fun looking back at this franchise since I really haven't seen the majority of them here. So let's start with the review section here for The Karate Kid Part 2, starting with the positives or just the things that I really enjoyed about this movie. First, it's obviously really nice seeing Daniel and Mr. Miyagi back together again here. Their chemistry and that father and son type relationship with all of these movies here is just as good as it was in the first movie. I feel like their relationship and their dynamic just helps carry these movies, especially in the first one, but even when you get the lesser quality sequels in Part 2 and Part 3, their relationship and anytime they're on screen together, I just always enjoy it. I always enjoy both of these actors, and when they're interacting and having fun together, it's just a lot of fun to always watch. Next here, there are also some pretty fun training scenes, and I feel like the best aspects of the first one was those training scenes. So you get some fun training scenes here, and times with them together. Still sticks with that Karate Kid themes of sticking up for yourself, defending people who need defending, and becoming a better person by lifting up and encouraging those around you. So it sticks with those tried and true themes, and you definitely get some of that here carrying over in our second part. I also really enjoy how this movie actually starts off right after the ending of the first movie, as Mr. Miyagi and Daniel are walking out in the parking lot from the tournament from the first movie, and it leads to this really great scene where Mr. Miyagi embarrasses the teacher, I believe Johnny, from the Cobra Kai dojo, and he embarrasses him, beats him up in the parking lot after he sees Johnny harassing the Cobra Kai students who lost in the tournament. I love seeing Mr. Miyagi not only stick up for Daniel, but stick up for everybody around him. And it almost feels like a scene that was like chopped off from the first one. So it's a great like continuation and nice transition from when you just watched the first one right into this one, how it literally picks up like 5 minutes after the first one ends and leads to a great scene in the parking lot that just stays true to that character of Mr. Miyagi. And it also gives Mr. Miyagi one of his best lines in this franchise. I believe he says, "A person living with no forgiveness in heart is living with a worse punishment than death." I love this scene in the parking lot that leads to that great line too, and the writing. Like I said, it feels like a leftover from the first one, so it's just a nice continuation if you're kind of binging these as well. And we'll get into my negatives and issues with this because it doesn't all work for me. I do just really enjoy how this movie feels so vastly different compared to the first one. I really appreciate in a sequel when it doesn't try to retread the first one in any way, and I'm glad they kind of tried something different with the story, going all over to a different country, different setting, and just trying to do something different. Like, it's not like Daniel's here signing up for a new and different tournament or anything. Like, it is very different and feels very different. So it doesn't all work here, but I do appreciate that they at least tried with that aspect in the story. And lastly here, I do really enjoy the ending and the overall messages and themes it was going for. I like how Mr. Miyagi and Daniel have to save, I believe it's Sato, I think it is, and his nephews from the village and the other people in the village from the storm, and leads to Sato helping as well, and leads to a great ending for the entire village. So again, just sticks with those like themes that the Karate Kid franchise is known for, but instead of just for Daniel and Mr. Miyagi, it's almost like this whole little town Daniel and Mr. Miyagi kind of save and bring back together, so they all work together. So it leaves off on a nice positive note. This is a feel-good movie, and that ending really sticks with it too. Next here, let's jump into my mix section of the review here, and I feel like I do have a lot of mixed elements, unfortunately. It's starting off with my mix. I'm not really sure how to feel about Daniel becoming more of a side character in his own movie, and Mr. Miyagi becoming more of our main character. I mean, this movie and this franchise is called The Karate Kid, not The Karate Kid's Teacher. So I like some of the stuff they do with Miyagi here. However, I think he works better as that side character, that mentor role to Daniel. And I feel like they really struggle to find something to do for Daniel in this movie, and I feel like they almost like switch their roles a little bit, and Daniel's kind of left just kind of meandering for a large chunk of this movie. So like I said, I like some of the stuff they do with that. Other stuff, I just don't like how they reverse the roles all too much. And next here, speaking of that, Miyagi and the Sato stuff is kind of interesting and gives more lore to Mr. Miyagi and the culture and place that he came from. However, they don't really do anything to invest you in this, because we just keep getting like told with past events of what happened and why their relationship is the way that it is. They don't really like show you why you should care. They just kind of keep telling you why they should care. And there really isn't much of a dynamic between Sato and Mr. Miyagi, other than Sato just showing up every like 15-20 minutes saying it's time to fight, Mr. Miyagi. You need to earn your honor back. What you did 30 years ago is not good with me. Then Mr. Miyagi's like, I don't fight. I don't want to fight you. Sato gets pissed off, leaves, then sends his nephews to like fuck around with Daniel again, make his life hell, and then Sato shows up again and is like, I need to fight you, Mr. Miyagi, and Miyagi's like, I don't fight. I'm not gonna fight you. So it's just a lot of that back and forth. Like, it could have been a more interesting dynamic because they set it up kind of well, but I feel like it just doesn't reach its full potential here. And lastly, in my mix section here, like I said in the positives, I do enjoy that ending note, and I appreciate how Mr. Miyagi and Sato end up forgiving each other in the end. However, I kind of wanted a final fight between them or something else than just Sato just kind of forgiving Mr. Miyagi and they just kind of mend things together. Like, it's so frustrating how this movie kind of sidelines Daniel, then also sidelines all the karate stuff and forgets we're here to see some fighting, and then it just kind of, we'll get into it with the negatives, but just kind of shoehorns a last final battle fight between Daniel and this other character that we really don't all care that much or care about that dynamic or why they're fighting. So I don't know, I think it would have been smarter to lead to more of an ending fight with Miyagi and Sato, and then they kind of mend things at the end of the fight or in the middle of their fight. Maybe it gets like broken up due to the storm, and then they have to pause their fighting, work together, then realize they don't want to fight together. Something like that. There could have been more to it, and they just don't go that direction here. Next here, let's jump into the negatives or the things that I just did not enjoy about this movie. Another smaller negative too, because I don't really think it's that big of a deal. I just do not like the detail that Daniel and Allie from the first movie break up, and that explanation is just that Allie told Daniel she fell in love with someone else, and then she's never brought up again, never shown on screen again. It just felt like that whole romance from the first one and all that time invested was just kind of wasted and then just thrown away with one line pretty much. Also here, a pretty big negative is I think the lore and backstory seem like such a convoluted and afterthought in the movie that kind of hurts some of the details of the first movie. Unless I miss something or I'm just misremembering something, in the first movie when Mr. Miyagi is going on that drunken rant to Daniel, he reveals that he had a wife, lost her, and his unborn son. However, in this movie, it turns out Mr. Miyagi also had a whole other girl back in his hometown where he was in love with her back at home and left his country to get away from her because they couldn't end up together. So Mr. Miyagi just couldn't stay there. He couldn't live his life there anymore. So I don't know. It just feels so shoehorned in and kind of changes the details of the first movie, since there is this whole other girl that he had this whole life and love story with. It feels like it was just kind of written into to get a sequel, and they kind of forgot what they already had established in the first movie. So I just hate that because it almost kind of lessens the impact of that fantastic scene in the original, at least to me here. And on top of that, I think it could have saved it if the new relationship with Miyagi and his girl was good, but it's just not that interesting. You don't really get to see them interact at all, so it feels like no one took the time to actually make the story more investing and fulfilling here. Also here, I thought the pacing definitely dragged, unfortunately, in the first one. As I mentioned, small little nitpick with my first review there, the pacing drags in this movie on a whole other level. 30 minutes in, I felt like I was already feeling it drag just because there's really no plot. Miyagi and Daniel go back to his hometown because his dad is dying. Then his dad dies, and they just kind of stay there doing little like side plot missions. So there really isn't anything to get fully invested in because nothing's really set up properly, and this all just kind of feels like a last minute, like, hey, what if we sent Miyagi and Daniel back to his hometown and they had to do crazy stuff together? I don't know. There's nothing really investful. We don't really get to see any of these relationships develop. We just kind of hear about the past, and then they're just like, here, care now. And I'm like, I don't really care now, and that's the issue. And again here, like we were touching on, I feel like Daniel's involvement in the plot in this movie just kind of feels like an afterthought. He's just kind of there and only gets involved because Sato's nephews are dicks and just pick on Daniel since Miyagi won't fight Sato. So Sato's just like, here, fuck with his kid that we don't know. So it's just like, okay, like Daniel's just kind of there, and I don't like seeing that. It's the Karate Kid. Again, not the karate teacher. And like we were touching on in my mixed aspect, the Daniel's final battle between, Daniel and Sato's nephew here feels like a complete afterthought as well. It's entertaining, but it feels so goofy with his nephew acting pretty over the top and feels like it comes out of nowhere because you don't really feel the conflict between Sato's nephew and Daniel. It's more so between between Miyagi and Sato. So, like I said, I'd much rather see a fight or something between those characters. But then they're like, all right, well, we resolved that, but this is the Karate Kid. I don't know. Here, throw in a karate battle between two characters that really have no big reason to be fighting, but we need an ending battle here because people liked it in the first one. So that's just how it kind of feels. And the ending is just so bad. This battle when Daniel pretty much beats him and he's like lying on the ground and Daniel's like, live or die, man. And the nephew's like, I choose to die. And Daniel says, wrong. And then like honks his nose. I'll put a clip of it. When I first saw that, I'm like, what the fuck is that?
Live or die, man. Die. Wrong.
What kind of Karate Kid move was that? I thought he was gonna go like punch him right in his nose and like break it or something, but he literally like honks his nose, and then Sato's nephew just like is on the floor defeated, and I'm like, what? I do like some campy 80s movie stuff like this, but I feel like this is on a whole other level, and I'm just so confused on like what Daniel was doing. This wasn't a callback to anything. This wasn't like a secret ancient history family Miyagi secret move. It was just he honked his nose. And I'm like, what is this? And also, Daniel's romance in the movie just feels like kind of lazy, shoehorned in again just to give him another girl. You're just not invested. It's very cliche. And, you know, I praised the first one for not being like that. So this one, again, they're like, we got to give Daniel something to do. So here's a new girl for him. And they kind of like go on their meandering plot of doing some things together here. So overall, I would say this is a pretty disappointing and lesser quality movie compared to our fantastic first movie that just honestly makes me love the first one even more. It felt like it lost a lot of what made the first one so special, focused less on Daniel, and focused more on stories and characters that we just don't care about or are not really invested in. Unfortunately, this movie just left me feeling pretty bored throughout the time that I was watching it here. So for my rating for this movie, this is a movie I would never look to own, rent, or stream. It's a movie I just don't ever really see myself rewatching, because if I want to watch a Karate Kid movie, I'm just going to go to the first one because it does everything so much better. So I struggle to think of a reason why I'd ever really watch this one again, unfortunately. So you guys have my thoughts here on the Karate Kid Part 2. Let me know down below, what do you guys think of the Karate Kid Part 2? Do you think it's underrated? Do you really hate it? Are you kind of mixed on it? I don't know. You never hear people really talk about anything other than the original, so I'm very curious to hear everybody's thoughts down below here. Yeah, look forward to me continuing on these Karate Kid movies. We're going to finish them out leading to Karate Kid Legends, so let me know your thoughts and feelings on the franchise altogether here. But you guys have my thoughts here. Thank you so much for watching Zach is Cinema. Really appreciate anybody clicking on my videos and watching to the end, so thank you so much. And yeah, look forward to more Zak is Cinema coming very soon.